What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin.
And we have one more album review for you. This is the last review of 2024. I already don't miss 2024, but we got one more for you, and we decided to cap this year off with something fun because we're going over an absolutely ridiculous band. So we're going to go over the latest offering from Becerus, Troglodyte. This actually comes out on the 20th of December, so well, it's not quite out yet, but believe me, I'm going to order it. This comes out on Everlasting Spew Records. This band formed sometime, somewhere, probably in a cave in Italy, maybe during the Ice Age. This is their second album overall. We reviewed their first one, Homo Homini Brutus, back in 2021. And this is pure caveman death metal. In fact, the truest of caveman death metal. This band prides itself on having no lyrics. In fact, I will go as far as to say lyrics are for posers. So it's silverware, wearing deodorant, and wiping your ass with something other than a pine cone. Also literacy. That's dumb too.
Nice.
Yeah, this is absolutely just pure caveman ridiculousness, and I've become a big fan of them.
Yeah, me too. This is the true meaning of Ooga Booga. It gets no more Ooga Booga than this. Yeah, I was a fan almost instantaneously of this, mostly because it's, first of all, it's fun. Second of all, it's heavy. And third of all, it's good to see a band that doesn't take themselves seriously whatsoever and still put out killer music. And I support it all the way.
And while you could say that this is kind of in the vein of like novelty or parody acts, I guess, like, you know, Cannabis Corpse, or, I mean, Fulci is very comparable to with their obsession with Fulci flicks. This band just latches on to the whole caveman thing. And again, like, one of the coolest things about this band, and it's still weird, is there are no lyrics. They make sure to let you know that, like, right away. I think it's on the back of their t-shirts. Mm-hmm. It's advertised in, like, all their promotions. It's like the only bit of information outside of like the standard stuff in the archives. Like the first line there's like, there are no lyrics. Well, okay. But it's still weird because it still sounds like there could be lyrics.
Yep.
And for a band with absolutely no lyrics, there's a shit ton of vocals. Which is even more fucked up because when I listen to this stuff in the car, because I jammed their first album numerous times, I find myself trying to growl along and then catching myself going, what the fuck am I doing? There's no words. I'm just grunting.
Yep. It's weird because it sounds like he's saying something. Actually, not only does it sound like he's saying words, I think he sounds more intelligible than half of the brutal death metal vocalists out there.
Yeah, I mean, like, baseline, the vocals are delivered in such a way that, you know, it kind of hits this, like, weird sweet spot between, like, Corpse Grinder, or in this case, like, Cro-Magnon Grinder, maybe, and Glenn Benton. I don't have a pun for that one. He has this very deep, gurgly roar, but rapid-fire cadences, and you get the occasional, like, you know, like, revved-up screams, and there's some interesting vocal tricks that they throw in there in place of, like, actual words. There are moments on here where I guess it's, like, caveman laughter. It instantly reminded me of, like, Joker's death scene in the original, like, Batman 1989 when they find his corpse and it's just, like, looping the laughter. It sounds like that, except, you know, growled. It's something interesting that he kind of peppers in there, you know, kind of in place of, like, you know, trying to find words because, like, his cadences, again, like, it does sound like he's saying something. You know, like, there's a lot of cadences on here that remind me a lot of Glenn Benton just in terms of his, 100%. Like, flat-out delivery. But, I mean, the only words I wrote down in, you know, place of, like, you know, lyrics kind of go like this. Ooga and booga and ooga and booga and ooga and booga. Repeat. And then throw in a couple of, like, really long screams and such. But, yeah, like, that is, like, one of the appeals of this band. The other is just the flat-out riffy, disgusting, like, 90s death metal that this band does. Like, kind of akin to, again, like, you know, bands we've already kind of alluded to, you know, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Blood Red Throne, bands that just lock on the chuggiest and nastiest of riffs and, you know, kind of alternate between blast beats, thrashy patterns, and just gut-stomping grooves.
I mean, really, you could say gut-stomping groove for a majority of this. Although I will say it becomes a lot more locked on, like, heavy, big, chunky riffs after you hit the track Bestius, and pretty much beyond from there, it just gets slower and more caveman-like. Pathetic bovine humor. First of all, I love the titles of these tracks, man. That's pretty entertaining. Pathetic bovine humor had a definite obituary vibe to it. Troglodyte, the title track, is straight up old school suffocation, and they just go for the throat as the record goes on.
Yeah, heavy syncopation. I mean, in terms of like riffing styles, like there's a lot of riff changes on here, but they kind of go to like, that main wheelhouse of death metal, the one that, well, I mean, a lot of bands visit and we will never fault them for it. Lots of syncopated heavy chugs. You just get like those big chromatic riffs. And then occasionally you get some moments where, they kind of like slow it down, kind of give it like a gloomier, more sinister tinge. But the songs themselves are generally pretty short. Like, I don't think there's a song on here over 4 minutes. I think the last track, Grunt 'Em All, it's a great title, is just shy of 4 minutes. But what they like to do is just these like frequently shifting riff patterns and transitions and such. And kind of just letting the vocals go on top of him, like, hey, he's just gonna do whatever the hell he wants. He's all ooga, all booga, all the time. But despite caveman death metal, you think like it's just blunt force trauma, like they're just dragging knuckles across this whole album. Honestly, there's a lot of clever riffs on here. Primordial Instinct in particular has some like more flashy, techie riffs in there, kind of mixing it up a bit. The opening groove on Aggressive Illiterate, I've met a couple. They're probably from Ohio. Anyway, it's got that kind of like bolt thrower kind of groove, like it just stomps in, like it owns the place. And I mean, it's a caveman. If you're anywhere around its cave, it does own the place. Don't question them. And one of my particular favorite song titles, because I don't know, I feel like it almost kind of describes our channel in a way. Progressive Mental Retardation. I mean, we're very forward thinking, but we're also not good at the thinking.
We have booger trolls.
Yeah, that's progressive.
Right, it 100% is.
That one has like a little bit more like modern death metal flair to it. Like it definitely kicks in the door with like just, again, like straight up Cannibal Corpse riffs. But then it goes into these blazing fast machine gun riffs. It kind of gets that decapitated kind of like precision to it. And these feature some of the fastest vocals, I think, on here.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're vocals. He's making noises, and he's doing them really fast. It's, like Archspire, except like if Archspire was a caveman and just discovered fire and was really excited about it.
I like the fact that nestled in these short songs, they visit so many camps of metal, too. Like, the shorter songs, so there's 2 songs on here that are both, like, a minute 15, a minute and a half a piece, and I like what they do with those songs because they're almost grind songs. Like in the track Cacado, that song I think is only a minute 15 long. It's fast, it's blasty, it's got D beats, and it's almost grind. The same can be said for Fat Laughters and Absolute Degradation, another fun track I like to say.
I don't even know what that means.
That one I think is grindy as well. Blasty, machine gun chugs, and in some songs you have thrash, like the end of Bestius has some almost blackened thrash riffs in it. And Serpicus Abeth Macogno, I think that's how you say that, that also has some like death thrash in the beginning of it. And it's cool to see a band with no lyrics visit so many schools of thought within so many short songs. Death metal, thrash, grind, all this stuff presented in a very condensed format.
Yeah, I mean, baseline, you could almost say it's smart about being dumb. And I think that kind of fits. And, the fun thing about it is, it keeps that fun, like, novelty. Like, this novelty hasn't worn out, like, like, all right, they're doing the ooga booga thing. Like, but no, they're actually, like, writing some really clever, just fun, riffy death metal. And again, peppering in some fun stuff. Like, there's a lot of killer lead play on here. Granted, the leads are very short, but they're very tuneful and melodic, and, there's a little bit more in the wheelhouse than I thought there would be. Like, it's not just a sea of dive bombs or anything like that. Like, there's really solid melodies. There's even, like, a little bit of tapping that shows up in there, too. Hell, there's even some, like, really solid, almost, like, brutal death breakdowns that show up. Especially at the end of Serpicus Abeth Macogno. I don't even know what the hell that means. Is that someone's name? Cavemen don't have names. Maybe they do, but it's something like Thrunk or Glorb.
Oddly enough, when I lived in a trailer park, those guys were both my neighbors.
Thrunk Glubson is a solid dude.
Really solid. No felonies.
Did you ever return that weed whacker you borrowed from him?
I didn't, but I'm safer with it.
Maybe. As far as any negatives on here, I do have, I'm kind of one. The shorter songs for me while I like the grindy energy on there, they do kind of feel incomplete. They just, feel like they're still kind of building steam, and then they kind of just end in a wave of oogas and boogas. And in terms of like the construction of those songs, there are parts in there that kind of just feel a little thrown together. Like the longer songs, I feel, definitely have like more intricate patterns in it. Again, like, Primordial Instinct is probably a big standout on here for me. I love all the different riffy flavors they throw in there. And Bestius, while I like that song, there's just some really weird transitions at the end. It kind of goes off the rails, like it stops at a certain point, like, all right, well, is that the end of the set? No. All right, why are we're black metal strumming?
There's actually two false endings in that.
Yeah.
The first one, you definitely think the song is over. If I wasn't actually watching the timer on my phone when we jammed it, I would have thought it was over. And then after that, there's another quick little stop, and then they start up again. And it does that twice in this record. And that's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was still fun, but it was like, wait, what are you doing? But outside of that, dude, this is just awesome. I mean, this is just pure fun. Like I could jam this anytime, and like put this on for someone and just have them say, I can't understand the words they're saying. I was like, well, fuck you anyway. But, there's no words, actually. Yeah. This is pretty much like leave your brain at home or in your loincloth in this case and just jam it. Though I will say that prolonged exposure to this album will probably cause you to hurl feces at your enemies as a way to resolve a dispute. Also, you may express a desire to craft tools made out of stone or urinate on the borders of your property to assert dominance and show that is 100% yours. And if they contest that, you have a stone tool in your hand to brain them with.
I was going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So, we're good.
Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. But overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. This was a purely enjoyable listen. Even if this did have lyrics and it wasn't themed around cavemen and all that shit, I would still like it because this just executes a style of death metal that I have been listening to since I was like 15. So that hasn't really like left me. It's riff oriented, lots of groove, lots of chug. They even gave their drum machine a goofy name like Mortician did for theirs so many years. Sometimes I just want a dumb album, and this album is transparent as hell about being dumb, but it's also super clever. If you're a big fan of Cannibal Corpse, Blood Red Throne, Fulci, stuff like that, hell, even like a little bit of like, Mortician too, Deicide, check this out. It's just flat out fun.
I agree. I'm going to give it 4 stars as well. I dig this. Of course, I dug the first one too. I've always just thought this band was a super good time. This is oddly something I could probably get away with playing for my parents even if I had to. Because if they said, well, what is he saying? I could be like, nothing. It's just grunts. He's just grunting and growling. It's just riffs and heavy, and that's all it is.
Just kidding. It's about Satan and fucking hookers. Ha, Mom, I'm a degenerate. Just like you knew I was.
Look at that. Anyway, who doesn't like really just super fun riffs and a band with a sense of humor? I think that's important to have out there in metal these days. This is groovy. It's brutal. It's downright riffy as shit. It's fast. There's definite bang your head moments. There's some gnarly ass breakdowns on here. And again, it's just fun. The song titles are fun to say. And he sounds like a brutal Tasmanian devil. Who doesn't love that? Anyway, once again, if you're into bands like Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, Decapitated, Suffocation, Warfather, Morbid Angel, stuff like that, you're probably really going to like this. I recommend checking it out regardless because this is a super fun band.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships now. They are only 99 cents, and we do members-only podcasts or streams, whatever the hell they're called. We won't be doing one this month because this month is holidays.
Stacked.
Yeah. But we will probably do one in January at some point, and we also have dumb emojis too. I don't know if that's a perk for joining, but it's a thing that we have. Anyway, this is the new way to support the channel if you would like. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats. If you are interested in our merch, there's a link down below in the video description to thrallsmetal.com. And if you would like to perhaps join the channel and become a member of this thing that we have, and probably something you wouldn't brag to your friends very much about, which we totally understand. I wouldn't brag either.
Fair.
There is a join button right down below.
And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Album reviews, although nothing new for the rest of this year because we've got way too much on our plate. Which is another thing we do here at Thralls of Metal. Discography rankings, discussion forums, live streams, Nick's never-ending collection updates.
You'll see 2 more of those, and then I'm done for the year, and then it's on to 2025 and whatever that brings.
Yep. Really, all this stuff we do here at Thralls of Metal is all for you guys. We're about to hit 6 years for this channel. It's mind-blowing to me that 6 years after we started, this thing is still growing. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, which is fucking awesome. I'm beside myself when I call out those numbers to anybody that asks. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. We appreciate all you do. We couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, and at some point after our year-end lists are out, I'm going to do a giveaway video for our 20,000 mark, and yeah, all you'll have to do is comment on it, and there'll be some fun goodies in there.
Yep.
But yeah, we appreciate the hell of you. It is amazing doing this still, and we look forward to overloading you guys with more content. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we
will catch you later.